All right, so we're live and we have 16 viewers here. So welcome, my guest, Marcus, my student, and my discussion partner. We always talk about interesting things. So let's begin. And today's talk is going to be about Marcus' experience. And a lot of you may relate to what he experienced. We're going to try to find out how he felt about the market, how he felt about the trading before the program, what was his journey like, and what made him change his mind, and all his revelations throughout the program, before the program. And hopefully you can guys relate to his experience, and hopefully that can be of value for you guys. All right, Marcus. So the first question I have is, tell us your story, how you got into trading, and what was the experience like trading with the old approach, like technical analysis and all.
Yeah. Okay. So I've been interested in trading since I was in grade school, and my dad was interested in trading, and I just wanted to learn with him. Even at that young age, I probably started trading with his account even when I was a teenager. In my 20s, was taught by Larry Williams. So I kind of have a connection there with Tyler and Ugly. I traded commodities in my 20s. I then got busy with life and other work. And so I stepped away from it for a bit, but never fully ignored it. Most recently, before getting interested in crypto, I was trading some stocks and options. And yeah, for the most part, I was using various forms of classic TA. I also took a tones workshop as well, and learned the sequential.
What was it like applying TA to trading?
For me,
and obviously, don't spare any details. Just
yeah. So overall, for me, it actually had a positive outcome as far as the bottom line of trades, but I was so stressed, mainly because, crypto is a 24/7 market. And I just found that even in winning trades, I was not getting nearly enough sleep. And it wasn't fun. I mean, even if I was winning, it was not a healthy or sustainable way to go. And so I was just looking for a better approach, a different approach.
Okay.
What were you going to say?
So it was very stressful for you, right?
Yeah, it was.
And was it also time consuming, I assume?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I was, I probably for about, a year and a half to 2 years spent maybe 4 to 6, 8 hours a day, just trying to gain all the kind of wisdom I could from various people and their methods. And I probably collected 100 plus pages of condensed notes. And I'm sure there's great wisdom in there, but you can kind of get lost in a sea of TA, of different things. And I really just kind of found myself more often lost in trying to figure out what the market was going to do next than really having a good sense of where to go.
I see. So lost in the sea of information overload, stressful, lack of sleep, and all these kind of. And would you say you were addicted to it as well?
No, for me that wasn't it. I really was just doing it because I was determined. For me, it wasn't about addiction. I guess I've traded long enough where I don't have that.
Okay.
Personally, but I know plenty of people do. Yeah.
I see. You didn't have a problem to let go.
No.
All right. That's good. Maybe that's why you're talking here with me.
Could be.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, you were looking for answers, right?
I was looking for a better way. I
Better way.
knew I didn't know what the answer was, but I just knew it didn't have to be this way.
Okay.
Yeah,
So you had a gut feeling that okay, there's no way that trading is about that. There's something else there, right?
for sure.
You had
And
that
I, you
feeling.
know, yeah, and I also got to see, just the way Ugly was and how he was having fun and enjoying it.
Okay. Okay.
And it's why on earth should he be the only one having fun?
Okay. So you thought like, hey, if Ugly is having a blast, I can have
Yeah,
too.
for sure.
All right. That's good. That's good. What Ugly brought us is very, very special. I mean, to grasp what he's talking about is not easy until you do. And that's what I'm going to ask you next. So,
Okay.
what made you to this, because of course you were following Ugly for some time, and then you end up working with me. What made you to decide to go with this program?
Um, I think it was when you were on one of Ugly's shows, and I could kind of see that you were talking about how Ugly trades almost the same way you do in many ways, or I shouldn't say the same way, but he kind of picks the same places, and but he has a little bit of a hard time putting into words why, what makes him in a moment decide to do what he does, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just it's so natural for him. I think he doesn't know how to put into words, and that's okay. That's just the way it is. Um, and you were offering a way to explain that, and that's what made me go that direction to decide to give it a try. Um, Ugly has
Can I
been quite
explain it?
successful.
Can I
Yeah,
explain
go
this
for it.
in one? Can I explain this in one YouTube video? Is it possible?
Yeah. Oh, no. No, it's impossible.
Yeah.
Absolutely impossible. So yeah, I decided to take a shot with that. It seemed to resonate with me, and I was looking for something different, a different way of trading. And it's true. 90% of people um, are making the other 10% the winners, and I feel like you basically have to do something different to be a winner. And so I was looking for something different, and I found that. Yeah, I mean, if maybe jumping ahead of hair here, but it took me a little while after starting the course to really accept what you were doing, and it just seemed so backwards, even though I was looking for that I really just kind of sat on the sidelines and watched some of the initial trades we were getting into, and it took me a little bit to just get my head around it and accept it and jump into it. But
Yeah, I remember.
it's yeah, but it's been that was great. I mean, I had to go through that, and that's fine. It was a great lesson learned, and it's been incredible.
Yeah.
Ever since.
So for listeners, what Marcus is talking about is that even though he paid for the program, he joined the program. The program was so different that he wasn't following at first, right? Even though he paid for it, and he had to observe, watch, because assume that to you was you even though you were part of the program, we were still skeptical about this working because it's all backwards, right? And then eventually, slowly, penny dropped, right? And then the thing is that other students, well, everyone who joined the program in the first month is about actually convincing themselves that is different way, that is indeed the way that to trade with a happy face, without the stress, without overthinking, having plenty of time for the things in your life. And so Yeah, so that part is difficult for people to wrap a head around, and it's normal. I expect that. So that's why I'm saying, like, if you join the program, I know that you won't listen to what I'm saying. You have to experience it yourself, and once you experience it, then, because I can't tell you to do it, right? You have to make the shift inside of you yourself. I can show you. You can follow me, but that shift, you have to make it. I can never force you to do it, because I can keep telling you won't hear me. You have to experience it, like, oh, you see, that's why it happened this way. Oh, and then when it happens a few times, you see that, for example, your peers' portfolios are growing because they're following, and obviously learning and having their own insights and their own traits. But if you don't follow, if you go back to what your old habits in your old TA, you see that your portfolio isn't growing as nowhere near as your peers, and maybe it's even going down. And then you quickly that type of, hey, I don't want to be left behind. You started thinking maybe it's worth, to let go of that, even though it's so difficult to let go of that previous world. Maybe I should just, let go, because we have attachment to it. So it's all about psychology. It's all about behavioral programming. That is why I can never explain this in one video. It's not going to work in one video. I can share things what we do, and you can watch what we do, but and see, oh, that's how it works. But it's not going to make you into a better trader until you experience it yourself. So yeah, I just wanted to lay that out. Okay, so let's go into
real quick. I would say it took me until about the third weekend where I really started to feel like things began to click for me for the first time.
Okay.
And yeah, and it really, yeah. And that was just the initial registration. And then about the fifth or sixth weekend, I just felt like I had another little series of revelations, and it absolutely takes time. But it's been amazing every step of the way. And there is no way, anybody is gonna get this from just watching, a public YouTube video.
What is your favorite?
Yeah.
What is your favorite part of it?
Of the class?
Yeah, the favorite revelation that you had.
I don't know if I can pick. I'm never good at picking favorites, but I can mention a few things that are way up there. Yeah. So one is that I used to really not like that Bitcoin was a 24 or crypto is a 24/7 market, and now I actually am totally happy with it. And the reason is I don't feel like I have to be glued to my screen all the time when I'm in trades or at key points. So one of my favorite things is setting orders in advance out of the money and walking away and going to do better things. I'll have alerts set if I need to check on it later, and that's fine. And I just already have a generally a bigger plan. So I really don't care which way the market is moving, and that's a pretty freeing thing. Let's stick with that one for right now. I know we'll get to more things in a minute. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we'll get into more things. Well, I'm very glad that like, I remember you whenever the penny dropped for you, you were so excited, so giddy, like a little girl,
Yeah, that's right.
It's like you wouldn't believe what's going on. But that's how I know that you finally made the switch and you finally, get it, because you were having blast. You were having so much fun,
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. And obviously it's a bit of a contrast of having to be stressed out all the time. It becomes a bit of a game, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. It is fun to be able to turn it into a game. And here's another good one. I really enjoyed when I truly began to learn what ugly meant by other people being goat food. That was a nice revelation. So, I mean, when I first read that he wrote that, maybe a year ago or so, I understood what he was saying. It's not like I didn't know what he meant, but I didn't actually know what it was like to be eating the goat food. Yeah, and that's incredible.
Yeah.
And there's no way to describe it until you figure that out yourself and get to experience it yourself. But
Yeah. You get to be in the goat's shoes, so to speak,
yeah,
or
that's
hooves, rather. Yeah. All right. So did it make sense to you when we were talking about it and what Ugly was talking about before that? You know, because he has all these one-liners, and I have a lot of one-liners that we're trying to convey a lot of deep meaning behind it, but to most people, you know, not everyone, but to most people, it sounds a little bit like a nothing concrete. How can that help me? Tell me exactly what I need to buy, what I need to sell. You know, because that's what it's like, and everybody's looking for that. Hey, you know, can this person tell me when to buy, when to sell? Can this person do like? And obviously they can't because they're projecting. And how can these one-liners help? Like, did that make sense to you when we were trying to explain what we mean with those one-liners?
are you asking if it made sense before I took the class or during the class?
Both. Did it make sense
Both.
before? Yeah.
So before, I mean, I guess I understood what he was saying, but it didn't mean anything to me because I didn't know how to incorporate it into reality. And you know, it's really now that I'm on the other side of it and I've experienced it that they make complete sense. And yeah, what, you know, Ugly or you or any of us in the class now can say in a sentence is clear to all of us. But I can also appreciate how for anyone who hasn't been through it, it's going to be kind of meaningless, or it'll sound like, I don't know, make believe. Yeah, it's not hard to, it's not easy to explain some of these things in a way, in a quick way to people who haven't put the time in and been exposed to it.
When was that moment when you got it? And obviously, was that a gradual process for you, or was that a instantaneous mind shift?
I got these instantaneous steps. Let's put it that way.
I see.
So like, it was really, like I said, at that 3 week point, like all of a sudden it just, something really hit me and clicked. I was like, oh, wow, this is a big deal. This is huge. And then again, like at around maybe the 4th, 5th week, there were new ones that added to the original ones. And again, it was just so eye-opening. So yeah, it did hit me in precise moments, but multiple times. Yeah. Along the way.
That's good. Okay, so let's just look at. Oh, you mentioned something before that. You mentioned somebody was asking you what was it like for you before. I think his username is Loopster, right? And could you tell us a little bit more about that?
He was asking me what it was like for me before when I was trading before, or what?
Just tell us what he was asking and what did you tell him?
So he was asking, I think his most important question was, how much time do you, how available are you? And you are very available. As I explained to him, I've taken some workshops before, I've taken classes, and you can learn a lot of those and get some great information. But once that class is over, whether it's like a 3-day deal or whatever it is, yeah, that teacher's relatively gone, and it's not what's happening in the current situation after those 3 days. You're not really gonna get anything more as far as hand holding when you need it. And I, agree that this process is going to take 3 months, and it's not a matter of it just being a class 1 day a week for 3 months. It's important to be talking about what's going on in the moment between those classes too. And you provide that like nothing I've ever seen before. And it is key. Um, if anybody is questioning or wondering if, if the fee is a good value, it absolutely is. The amount of time you're providing is incredible.
Thank you.
Yeah. Not to mention, I'm confident I'll have the fee covered by the end of class. Yeah.
Right. So you're confident that you're gonna get all the money back with your trading if you haven't already.
Yep. I am.
Okay. Yeah. And obviously that's my really goal. I don't want to take the money from you, right? Like, I'm not here to take the money and give nothing in return. If you don't become professional trader, if you don't absolutely enjoy and having a blast trading, then I have not done good enough job. There's something there, right? And or perhaps there was no overlap of what I'm teaching, and perhaps you were not ready for that. Because I had a couple of students quit, one because personal reasons, and the other person just wanted out because he wasn't able to grasp of what I'm talking about. So
yeah, look, let me interject real quick here. You really need to let go of your previous trading methods if you decide you want to take this on. Just don't even bother starting it unless you are ready to free your mind
yeah.
and completely commit to this new style. I think that's important to say here. There's nobody's trying to trick anybody. Just if you can't be that, you can't let go and start fresh. Don't even start.
Yeah. I have the saying that, hey, if you want to join my dojo, if you want to enter my dojo, you have to surrender your guns at the door. Your TA guns at the door, because your TA guns are absolutely backfires, right? In my dojo, like it's not going to work.
Yeah, they're not compatible. Yeah,
they're not compatible. So that actually brings us to another question, in that belief that technical analysis or anything technical has anything to do with success in trading. What do you think about that?
I will say that I think there are people out there who can use TA and be successful. I'm not going to say that that doesn't exist. For me personally, I feel not using it is a better way. I am having more fun and it is not stressful. I think it's a better way.
But do you think they are successful because of TA or because of other things?
Oh no, it's other things. I think it's money management. I think it's sometimes it's probably intuition, experience.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you think they could do better without TA, perhaps?
Oh, for sure.
Okay. So would you conclude that TA is not necessary to be a successful trader, and that it can actually hinder and create a lot of stress in your life?
It can, yeah. It's not necessary, and it can absolutely work against you.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So if not technical analysis, what else is there, right? Like, if not technical analysis, what else is there? And I would like to ask you a few questions about the approach and the approach that we have, which is what I call a natural analysis, and trying to understand chaos. Not just trying to understand chaos, but really understanding chaos. And chaos as something that has the higher form of order rather than just randomness. And were you able to now see that higher form of order at something that before seemed like complete randomness?
For sure. I mean, until recently, I thought chaos was randomness. And, there are some things that probably are random, but that's not what's going on here in these markets. And yeah, there is a structure inside the chaos. And since like in Bitcoin, since we've been at 14,000, I've been pretty lost. Yeah, I mean, before the class, I was pretty lost with what was going on there. I didn't see how there was any way to make sense of it, really. It was really more just luck or guessing. Having since started the class, I don't see it that way at all. So many things stand out as being clear to me now, and there is absolutely a path that can be navigated, and it's remarkable. That is honestly part of that's what one of my revelations was. Just like, this doesn't have to be a confusing, uncertain place. Sure, we're not trying to ever say we know exactly what's going to happen next. It's just we do know what we want to do when certain things happen.
Yeah.
Or if they do. Yeah.
But when we get in tune with the market, you know what that means now?
Yeah, absolutely.
You just dance with it, man. You just
in the groove. Yeah.
In the groove. Yeah.
Yep.
And it seems like everything just clicking and clicking and clicking, and obviously gets to the point where like, wait, this is clicking way too good,
Right.
That's the point to take some profit and get out.
That's right. Yep. And just enjoy it. That's right.
Yeah. So, which was the lesson for us? The things where, the lesson was that we were way too fixated on the outcome of the trade, and we stopped being in the present moment, even though the market was speaking with us and giving us all different, fractals and telling us and screaming at us even and saying like, hey, this is what I'm about to do now. So, yeah, so I'm really glad, because I saw your transformation as well. I watched you, from being skeptical, and I watch you slowly applying it. I watch you having these massive revelations and literally transforming. Like you say, every week there is a new revelation. You're transforming pretty much into a completely different person.
Yeah.
Like your paradigms are shifting, and you're getting success with your portfolio is growing, and there's no need anymore to try to know exactly where the market is going, as long as I say, our position is as good as the latest fractal.
Yeah, right.
So
and another great one that for me is just forget about precision. Precision is almost the enemy. It is such a better way to trade and be by adopting vagueness.
Adopting vagueness. I love it.
Yeah.
Adopting vagueness. That's
and I'm sure I'm sure many people listening won't really know what I mean when I'm saying that. They'll understand my words, but yeah.
So what Marcus is saying is that the vagueness, not precision, is the key. What it means is that whenever you're approaching the market with the logical mind, the market attracts very smart people, and they end up being, the story is like, okay, there's a smart guy who killed it in other areas in life, came into the trading, and thought, I'm going to apply my brain, and you can probably figure out who these people are, right? They're really, really smart, but they're lousy at trading. And you guys, I'm sure you're following these people. But the point is that they approach it with the completely wrong tool. Like I said to somebody today, is that they're trying to scoop the water with the shovel. It's not how it's done. And they're trying to be precise. They're trying to be logical. Now, but if you, for one moment, relax your mind and stop looking for the precision, all these patterns that seemingly not there just emerge right in front of you. It's your ADD, and it's your obsession with the precision and logic and everything that needs to be put into categories and brackets is what's preventing you from seeing what's right there in front of you. Now, the vagueness is that we don't know exactly where the market is going, right? we can't tell that. If we claim to even though on occasions we are getting fills right on the dot, because we're using a certain sacred numbers and all this kind of thing. So lately we had positions filled right on the dot, but they were not our only positions, because we're using so-called spread and different market maker execution techniques. So that brings me to market maker execution, which is very different to what 95% of traders use. And as we all know, market moves towards the place of least resistance, which means it always moves against the majority. And who are the majority, guys? Just obviously open your eyes and ask yourself, am I the majority? The majority, if you ask me, is all the TA experts and their followers. It's like they are subscribing and then following projections and TA analysts because they expect that that's going to make them to be a good trader. But they are the ones entering the slaughterhouse. That's exactly who you are, who ends up being goat food. So it's a very simple thought experiment. Am I in the majority? And if you answer that I am, then you can make a conclusion, And so I want to ask a few questions about market maker execution. So what we have a lot of principles there, how to apply them, but which one is you said you don't like really favorites, but maybe list top 3 that you really enjoy applying. 3 principles.
Yeah. Okay. I just really like not needing to pick one specific place where I'm going to decide to get into a trade, and then one specific place to get out. And it's not that I, never employed things like taking profit on half position or things like that in the past, but this is just different. And then also the weighting of it being the opposite of what you normally would use or be taught. And then also just being able to set these orders and go to sleep. I would say those are probably my top 3. Having it be spread, having the weighting be the opposite of what would be typical, and then being able to just let go and go do something else for a while or go to sleep or whatever. And I sleep so well compared to how I used to. I really do. That is my favorite part.
Oh man, that makes me so happy, man. It makes me so happy for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And yeah, dude, this is amazing. Now, so you said the spread is, you really like the spread?
I do. I like the spread combined with the inverse weighting. Yeah.
All right. So what we use is called a reverse pyramid spread. And can you tell us a little bit more about that? What's it like using reverse pyramid spread?
Essentially, you're kind of using a light entry to start with as price is moving towards, let's just say, your entry. And you could say that's kind of like putting your toe in the water to test it out. And if that's as far as it goes, great, no problem. You're in, whether you didn't have to have a perfect, precise position to get an entry, but you got a piece. And if you just got that small piece, great. Then you take it and look for the next trade. And if it goes more towards your ideal entry, you get larger positions, and that's great too. So if you were, I guess I don't like using the word right, but if what you thought or wanted to have happen does happen, then wonderful. You get a larger fill. And then if it doesn't, or if it goes past that, then we've got a plan for that too. We'll get out and it's no big deal. We'll just look for the next one. And it's the same thing for exiting. We're not trying to pick a precise target as well for the exit. We'll in advance spread out a number of exit points, and those will be weighted as well in our favor. And we just let it go and see what happens. And then if we're out of touch with the dance, then we'll reset and figure out what we want to do next.
So, one second. Yeah, sorry about that. What's it like to have the price move against you and actually wanting that at some point? Actually being happy with the price moving.
That is backwards, or that was backwards. Now it's glorious.
Yeah. So this principle really applied with everything else that we do. Really, I think it's what puts you at ease. You are not worried the price moving against you. Actually, if you position right with the right fractals, and those H's and Y's, and how many times it just freaking does that dance, almost every time. Every time it does at least something, and that's what allows us to get in on the wicks, and the market is wicking and everybody's panicking, and we are doing the opposite. We are further the wick goes, the more we double down, the larger our position gets. It's the opposite of what most people do. It's we kind of providing that liquidity for the people who press the panic button.
Exactly. Yep, that's exactly right. And when that is eating the goat food. It's just so backwards from. I mean, I could see it happen before, but I was one of those other people, and I couldn't see taking that side of it, and now it's what I'm looking for. And you just have to exercise patience at times when you don't think it will happen, when you don't think you'll get those choice little entries, and it's amazing when you do. It's just an incredible feeling to to just have like this sudden little wick go right down there and fill your entry or exit where you normally would least expect it to, and it's just there for a moment. It is
and
fun.
Snaps back down. Like what we just had last couple of days, right? You were obviously got your fills in, and it snapped back down, and right now we're obviously seeing something else going on, so we're not too attached to the outcome. We don't really want to sort of, we don't desire that much anymore, and we actually see what's going on, and we actually changed it. We are no longer short. We collected that profit that got us in on that wick, and now we have plenty of liquidity, plenty of equity to withstand the scenario that doesn't work out for us. So even if we lose, we still win. In this particular fractal, we already have plenty liquidity to be okay, and that takes us at ease. We're not going to lose anything now, even at the worst possible scenario. And trading these fractals, as everybody's looking for the breakout, we're trading these within the fractals and sometimes accumulate a lot of equity before we even break down. Would you say that's true?
Yeah, absolutely. We can trade these little moves in the middle of a bigger trend, and I mean, you can look at it a couple different ways. I mean, one is just to grow your equity, and I mean, another way is just don't even worry about that. Just have some fun with it, and if you're relaxed, you're probably going to be smiling pretty soon.
Yeah, because it's not that difficult.
No.
And a lot of fun. All right, that brings me to another principle in what we call trimming and topping. What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, I mean, that, just like you said, this just ties in with what we're talking about, where instead of just trying to capture a trend, like a bigger trend, we will look for points along the way where it is good to trims to take some profit, and then look to refill what we trimmed at a better position, continuing with our overall trend. And that's also a beautiful thing. Not only does it give you, does it occupy you along the way, and give you something to do if you're looking for something to do, but it also extends, the run or the gain of what the overall trend itself would be. So there's two positives to it. And, if I don't know if it's a good time, but you want me to talk about the playground right now? Because I really like that part too.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Tell
Okay.
us
All
about
right.
the monkey playground. Yeah.
So, one of the things that I think a lot of traders find themselves to be in, position wise, is they are in a trade and maybe it's not initially going the way they thought according to their plan, and that often I think gets people into trouble, where they start second guessing themselves and they abandon their plan and they change it for something else, and then they end up wishing they just stuck with their first plan. So, I really like what you taught about keeping your monkey mind, your primitive mind occupied. You don't want to punish it, because that doesn't usually result in anything positive. But you also don't want to let it just have free reign of
Could you
everything
tell the
either.
listeners about the monkey mind? Because it may not mean a lot to them what monkey mind is. If you could just explain a little
Sure.
more.
It's this part of us that just needs to be occupied and busy, and it's running off of emotion, and just primitive instincts, and it's probably what is driving herd mentality and making you be one of the majority.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't mean that it can't ever see things, or be successful, but it's good to let it have room to run around, but just not be in charge of your main trades. So one idea, a way to handle that, is to have a second account that's significantly smaller in size, or whatever is appropriate for your level, and let your monkey play in that playground and take on the trades that it is antsy to try, but stick to your main plan in the other account. Yeah. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I really like that idea.
Yeah. So what Marcus is describing is, we have this part of us. We have many part of us, and obviously it's not a big secret, but something we just don't want to look at it. But there is a part of us that what I call a monkey mind, right? And the monkey, it's like a child. It's like a monkey. It doesn't really want anything bad for you. It wants to help you, but it's so incompetent at anything that it just wants to play. So, but you can never ever beat yourself down. You can never beat the monkey down, so to speak. It's because if you have a bad trade and then you lash out at that part of you, and then you go, oh, what an idiot, what was I doing, and just start beating, then you essentially beating yourself up. You're beating that part of you that is a childish monkey part. So never ever be upset at that part, but actually talk to it and give what it wants, right? And you can give a playground. You say, hey, if you have this itch trying something out, this is your sandbox, right? So you never give kids to play with the heavy machinery. You have the toys for them to play. So you create this monkey playground, and then you say, all right, if you really want to go ahead and go crazy with the trading, go ahead. This is your account, do it, but never go and trade on the main account. You give that monkey some rules, and the monkey goes in and then obviously messes things around, but you don't care. Right? You never allow a monkey to go on the main account and go and trade against your principles. And I had this monkey account as well, and it's experimenting. But funny thing is that the monkey account is doing just as good as the main account. It's like even the monkey can learn, right? So now instead of beating that part up, that making mistakes, you have a conversation with yourself, and that's a very important concept to understand. Again, it's a behavioral part that we all have, and we sometimes we overlap with our higher self. Our higher self always gives us really good insights, and the monkey mind is just not really, but it just wants action. That's why it's important to go do something physical, to let a lot of that action out, so then whenever you're sitting in your trading station, you're not hyper and you're not, overdoing. You're more relaxed, you're composed, because the monkey got whatever it needed somewhere else, right? It just wants to help you and it wants to have fun. That's why you have to sort of address that. Okay, before we go any further, let's just speak with the audience and answer their questions. Okay. Ivan's asking, have you tried trading stocks or forex with the same method? I first of all, it's not really a method. It's the pretty much the entire paradigm, because our method of trading may change from time to time, right? Would you say that's true, Marcus?
Yeah, I would say that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I haven't traded stocks, but any trending market or even bracketed market, this can work, because you can see the same patterns, you can see the same principles. It's more of the sum of your principle is just what makes you successful, not necessarily that like specifically Bitcoin and nothing else. Actually, a lot of things. What Marcus was asking about the stock and what we see in the stock, and we went there and we looked at it there, and we saw similar dances going on, right? It's I'm sure that you can apply to that as well, and have good success. But and one of the principles that I follow is that I don't want to spread myself too thin. Okay, that's not a good idea. That's why I had somebody, one of my students, he was trading just way too many things at once, and I said, well, you don't need to. Like, trading many things at once is not going to make you into a better trader. Is being really good and focusing on one thing, because what's the difference? Juggling all these different things at once just makes you make mistakes. But if you really focus on something, and just take it home, why would you need to spread yourself between all these other markets? You don't, right? Investing is another key, right? It's another side of the coin. You may be investing in other trending markets, but anyway, so that's.
I agree with you. I think the focus is important, and there's plenty to keep me occupied with BTC. I think we do better when we are feeling like we're really in touch with this one thing we know the best. I'm interested in other things. I thought it was fun when we were looking at the S&P, just to play around with it and see what we could find. But I think focusing on this is really, it's all I really care about right now. Yeah. Maybe someday there'll be other things, but.
Mikhail is asking, have you learned something from Kesutis apart from trading?
I mean, I only met you when I started the class. So apart from trading, I would say, I'd probably say no, except for other things we've worked on for trading, which is dealing with our behavioral side, just trying to keep our mind clear so that we can be open to seeing these fractals that we're looking at, trying to essentially just be healthy in life, and treat our bodies well. And yeah.
Okay. All right. The Gabriel is saying, I see this is like constant dollar cost average on the long side. That is, yes, it's similar, but it has few different principles. But yes, it's very similar to dollar cost averaging. It's you are you're dollar cost averaging the area that you want to trade. You don't go with the precise location because you have no idea if that market is going to go exactly there. All right. Then
that question from Raziel looks good. Do you like to add to your position as it goes your direction you prefer to trim? So it's actually both. So let's say you get into a trade and it's going your direction. The first thing I would do is trim, and I would pick a spot where I'm thinking it's going to potentially ratchet back against me. So I would trim at that spot, and then if it does ratchet back up against me, well, that's where I would then refill. Mm-hmm. And I would potentially do this several times along the way to the end of that trend. Mm-hmm. So hopefully that makes sense. We call it trimming and topping.
Yeah. We call it trimming and topping, meaning that we invest in the trend, and as the trend continues, we are looking for these areas to trim, and if we get the bounce, we top back in until we have our until we have our the fractals that giving us the reverse fractal sort of insights, and this way we are getting out of the trend. So the principle is, and the trends are everywhere, looking at big trend, small trend, it doesn't matter, but the key point is you are aiming to invest in the trend, and that's the initial risk that you're taking. And after that, there is absolutely no risk, because if you trim and the market did not bounce back, you just close some of your position, right? So even if you're wrong, you're right, right? Like it's even if you're wrong, actually you are profiting. So it's very safe, and that takes all the anxiety out whenever you're already in the position and it just went and we're already in the profit. And then if you let's say you take out that quote unquote long in a specific location, and if that moves against you, you don't need to stop, because all you did is just close some of your initial position, right? But if it goes up, as an example, you top it up, and then what you did, you pretty much did a little bit of a swing trade within your investment in the trend, and that just made you add just a little extra as you go down. Okay.
And then we're not worrying about being perfectly right all the time.
Yeah.
We don't just need to be. Gets in our way, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. We don't need to be. Like, that's why we're wrong more time than not, but somehow it profits. Well, we can't say that we're wrong more time than not, but if the times that we're wrong, we're still profiting. We only take initial risk at the investment of in the trend. That's the only initial risk, but we have plenty of equity to play with that, and we're not going all in, at once. We are very gentle with it. We're playing with it. That's why we don't. And we do have areas, and the market will tell us if it's not going that way, and it will give us the sign. It's there for us to see it, and it was there. And if you don't see it, that's because you are probably not following your behavioral principles, and you're probably way too attached to the outcome. You're going to some specific direction on the chart, and that's a bad idea. So we're not really aiming to go a specific direction in the chart. We are ready for it, but if the market doesn't want it to go, it always gives us a sign. Wouldn't you say that's true?
Yeah, absolutely. It's amazing how it will show us a way out if it's not going and doing what we were anticipating, and we'll take that way out and look for the next opportunity.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, so that kind of brings us into leverage. The concept of whenever you are going with the trend and you're already in the position and the market is trending your way, everything's going great. What happens with our account is obviously the leverage is decreasing. So that allows us to actually add more on the key fractals if we see that those fractals gives us the trend continuation, meaning that we growing our position as we go towards that, and we maintaining same risk, same leverage. Do you have anything to say about that?
No, that was clear.
All right. So that's just a concept that is also very important, and not Bill Williams is pretty much a practitioner of that type of trading, where he's actually investing in the trend, and as the trend continues, he keeps adding and adding and adding on the correction fractals. And actually, you have to make sure that the correction fractal is actually continuation fractal and not a reversal fractal. And those are differences, right? We have four types of these fractals, which is, upward correction continuation. Then we have upward correction reversal. Then we have downward correction continuation, and we have downward correction reversal. And those are four types of fractals, and they all look a little different, but still alike. Can you speak a little bit more using those types of this type of approach?
I will say this: we are being taught to see these, what you call flat correction waves, which I would say are probably visible to many traders, but we're being taught to see these in ways that most people would never see them. And that's a unique thing. I like seeing them on different angles, and the funny thing is they still have the same properties. They can look so different than if they're just the textbook standard, but they still have the same properties. And that's something I'm still working on getting better at seeing. But seeing that telltale switch between the fourth leg and the fifth is pretty neat, just to recognize it when it's happening. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, it is really interesting to be able to see something that nobody or most people don't see. It's just there right in front of us, and it's different, and you can't really compare it because it's different, right? That's where you can't see it. But what you said is very important, because there's a property there. And how do you explain to somebody who, you have to have an eye of an artist to see it? Because if I give this to a normal person, what they tell me is that I don't see it. I think it's subjective. I think you're making that up. What would you say to that person?
I would say, yeah, I completely understand where you're coming from. That's how it looked to me initially at first too, but that's not the case.
Yeah, it's not the case. Yeah. So it's not the case, guys. The information is there. But there's a language, just like a, if you take any language that you don't understand, to you would be just hieroglyphics, right? You just look at it and it's like, yeah. But if you know what it means, it's everything. It's language. You're like, oh, that's what you're doing. Oh, that's what you're doing. And you're just reading a chart like a book. And like what Marcus is trying to get better at it, but he's doing really well. And I'm speaking, it's like learning to speak Chinese, right? So if I I'm also not exactly fluent yet. I don't consider myself fluent in the fractals, right? There's a lot more there for me to learn. However, even in that case, it's plenty for me, because the only time I stop reading it is if I get into different state of mind and start looking and breaking the principles. Like we broke that principle of, not being attached to the outcome. And then things were right in front of us, but we were attached to the outcome. But they were there, and then we already practiced those. We saw these, like everything that we saw in the class, but because of the behavioral principle, we were not, because we obviously broke that behavioral principle, we were not able to, I mean, it cost us a little bit, right? But not that much in comparison of how much we gained. So that's good. And it was a big lesson to almost like reiterating and telling us like, hey, don't stop watching me. Don't stop reading me. If you lift your head up and you start looking somewhere else, some other traders, some other, you know, news or whatever, you will lose the connection with the market. And can you talk a little bit about that feeling of being in tune and connected with the market? And also somebody's asking, how much time do you spend now in front of the computer to trade? So given that you don't watch the news anymore, you don't follow anyone else, and it's just you and the market. What's it like?
Sure. I'll start with the first one. So when you get in this groove and you're seeing what looks familiar, even it doesn't have to look exactly the same, I mean, as the past, you never would expect that really, but when it's familiar to you, and you just feel like I've seen this before, and I know what these properties are. Again, you may not be exactly right, but that doesn't matter. You're set up for that, and just getting that sense, and then putting your orders in those places where you think it's gonna work, just the way you're thinking it will, and having it go that way, it's pretty remarkable. And until it doesn't, until that song changes, and then you just go and figure out what the next song is. It's a great way to approach it. And for the other question, I don't know exactly how I would answer that one, because I don't really know. I don't keep track of how much time I spend, but I would say I probably spend about a fourth the amount of time that I spent before. And a lot of that is because I'm still learning right now, and I'm spending time on studying this and just trying to get more familiar with it, and being able to recognize things that are a bit more obscure or abstract looking, even though they're not. Just getting more familiar with it. But at the same time, I used to spend a lot of time watching other people's videos, and I have a lot of respect for many of those people, but I just feel like I just don't need to spend that time on it anymore. I don't even really want to. I mean, maybe I do it more for entertainment purposes at this point, but I just, there's other things I'd rather do. So I am typically spending, I don't know, maybe it depends on the day, maybe 10, 20 minutes on setting up orders or adjusting them, just checking in every now and then to see what's happening, or relying on alerts. And then I'm off doing other things. I mean, Kasutis knows my family was in town from Europe for the last 3.5 weeks, and I was out of town a lot of that time. And I wouldn't have been able to do that without just completely walking away from trading before this class. Mm-hmm. It would have been one or the other, not both. And it's great. It's great to take a break from trading. The only reason I did is because I didn't want to miss any of the class, but I still was able to do it. I still was able to easily go have a good time with my family, and barely looking at my phone or computer, just here and there. So much less.
even though you were actively trading, you had a complete relaxation during your vacation.
Absolutely, yeah. I didn't. It's amazing. Yeah. Like that's one of the best things about this.
Yeah. So, it makes sense, doesn't it? Because like your body is telling you you're doing something right? Because when you're stressing, your body is telling you you're doing something wrong, and it's the body speaking to us all the time. And if you're not enjoying, if you're not having fun, if you're worrying about the trade, you're doing something wrong, guys. Like this morning, I woke up and we're sitting in that short from 10,800 area, right? Because we got some fills there, and we're sitting in the profit, and I'm watching at the market. And actually, when I woke up with the bad feeling about my trading. Basically, it was like, okay, it seems like I'm having this type of feeling, and I'm worrying about my trade. What's up? So I looked at the market, and sure enough, the market is doing something different. It has different thing in mind, and then as usual, all I had to do is detach myself from the outcome and change because now I feel much better with it. Okay. And why do I feel much better? Well, because first of all, the market, I'm already sitting in the profit. I have my positions in the long in case the market wicks down and it fills me in. And I also have the area where if we get this, the principle that we're using, Williams fractal past the 886, we call this don't get in the mix with 886, which obviously I'm ready for that. And if in case that happens, I have plenty of equity from the short to still be profitable on this particular fractal. So I have no worries, right? And before I had this type of feeling that something isn't right. So you got to listen to that and change so you feel good about your trading, So because that your body's speaking to you. All right.
And that's an easy thing to say, but most people are not going to understand that unless they go through this.
Mikhail's asking
many things.
Yeah. It seems difficult until you make a shift.
Yeah, and that's a good question he's got there. Yeah. So Mikhail, I don't use my own indicators. Most of what I believe is the video I'm thinking of that you saw, most of those indicators are just some fundamentals like the BitMEX funding rate, and if we're in backwardation or contango on the various futures contracts. He may have had an awesome oscillator for momentum and an acceleration oscillator. But honestly, those are like the last things we're generally paying attention to or caring about. Absolutely, you could not use any of that and just use the fractals. We will use the Fibonacci tool, and frankly, I have no doubt you get to a point where you would never even have to turn that on. You could just generally see the areas, once you spend enough time with it. So for the most part, yeah, we'll draw lines and we'll do things to illustrate things for each other. So we know what we're talking about. So we know what is being referred to, but for the most part, our charts are really clean. These are the cleanest charts I've ever dealt with. On my own charts, I almost always have those indicators or fundamentals turned off. I just don't need to see them. Only when I want to look at them occasionally will I turn them on. But
right, and those are the secondary, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the structure is primary.
Mm-hmm. So the hierarchy of trust is we always trust fractals first and what the language of the market, and then we look at other things like the sentiment of the basis, the funding, and other things. And then if it agrees with us, it just gives us assurance that so whenever everything is overlapping and aligning, those are the nice places to be. But if something disagrees, if the sentiment, let's say, sometimes we look at the bids versus asks, because and sometimes when the market is perhaps dancing and trending, it gives us so much value. But then there's key moments where just there's no point in looking at it at all, and fractal is the one to go with. Which we always trust the fractal, because we did have occasions where the fractal was telling us it's a reversal fractal. However, we have these books of bunch of buyers that just were all made up. Okay, and one of the students, Nicholas, was asking, say, is there even a point looking at that chart? Maybe we can get to the point where we don't even look at that at all. but that's a different level. And Ugly is one of those people who is, like you said, he doesn't need the Fibonacci tool to detect his positions. He does it by the eye. He has the Fibonacci in his mind, because he can't explain why he's picking specific locations, right? But he is so good with the, knowing. And I believe that he even understands that, because the areas that he was telling me that he likes to get in on, and all these kind of things, which was very, very artistic kind of view and is nothing concrete, was coinciding with our H and Y fractals. And we did look at the ugly trades on the trading view. We plotted that out. Warren, actually, he's going to be a new student on the program that I'm going to start probably 21st of September. So he had everything plotted. So we may actually pull that out sometime and maybe shoot a live stream discussing ugly trading on that. But ugly trading is so in a line with the H and Y fractals that is spooky. It's like, it's almost that he knows that, but he can't explain what he's doing that. So, yes, I do believe that you can get to the point where you don't even need to have any tools, and just go with that's the level of expertise that, Ugly has, when he doesn't need any tools at all. But before that, I think to learn what the way Ugly trades, you need these little crutches to get you off, with the good start, and then you can, less is more. So what Marcus was saying, that the cleaner the chart, the less you obsess with it, and it's very alluring. It's very seductive to go and get confused with other things. But really, the simpler, the better. The simpler, the better, because like we said, chart is a language. It's telling us. And people, when looking at traditional patterns, they're looking at the volumes. They're looking at these all these different technical things like RSI and these are the tools that are absolutely unnecessary and they go against you. And you can see people using the language as, well, we are in overbought conditions. There's no such thing, guys. Thinking that way is what makes you not to see what the market is doing right in front of you, because you go with some sort of tool, some technical point, as opposed to seeing what's happening right in front of you in the chart. And many people don't. All these traditional patterns are easy to spot. That's why they work sort of like the same thing as flipping a coin, right? But there's much more information there. Like, for example, nested fractals, where as a little tiniest fractal has all the information contained in the big fractal. And Marcus was a little skeptical about that at first. So maybe you could tell us about your change of thinking watching those nested fractals unfold.
I mean, it was just one of those moments of realization where once I saw it happen in front of my eye. It's one thing to go back in history on the chart and see examples of it, but then to have it happen in a new way, but still the same way in front of your eyes, it is eye-opening. I don't quite know how to say it, and it's so satisfying when you.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
Recognize that, yeah, it really is.
Sometimes it's so beautiful it tears you up,
Yeah, it makes you feel like you have an edge too, like.
Yeah. So that's the thing. Another thing that we are following is we're looking at the market and we're looking for the beauty in the market, not the logic. We're looking what feels right, what would look beautiful, and we're sort of aiming that, because anything that you see in life, like, what is beauty? How do you define beauty, right? But anything that you see in life that you find beautiful, it was emergence of the chaos into the higher form of order. And the higher form of order is beautiful to us because it's sacred, if you will. Flower You know, the reason the flower forms in such beautiful pattern, it's not a coincidence, guys. It's not random. It wasn't like, you know, million years of evolution made it look exactly like that. No, the information, that geometry was already there. It's a sacred geometry. That's why flower looks the way it looks. And if you don't believe me, watch cymatic videos and watch how the sand or the water shapes itself based on the frequency it's exposed to. And you can see the flowers there. You can see the tortoise shells in there. You can see everything. And you should ask yourself then, how did that information get there? It's encoded in the universe. So we're looking for something that is beautiful, and it just unfolds, and it's anyway. You get to see that. You get to see that. You get to feel it, and you get to really enjoy it. And that's how you know when you're in tune with the market, right? That's how you know, because your inner compass is telling you that you're having a blast, having fun, and you find this beautiful. You know, not overthinking, not over. That's the thing. It's just like, you know, somebody is said once that, yeah. Anyway, you sometimes if you can't force anybody to be spontaneous on purpose, right? You can't say, "Hey, be spontaneous now." It doesn't work like that. How can you order somebody to be spontaneous? That's why to get in that feel, you have to do it sort of yourself. It's
it's kind of just words until you experience it yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, you're trying to explain it. Yeah, you're trying to explain it as best you can, but I don't think there really is a way until you decide to just bite the bullet and try it and find it yourself.
Yeah, that's the thing, that there's no way I can sort of sell this program, and I don't like selling. I just want to show and share what I do, and if people like it, they will join me. But I don't have sort of, you know, I don't have a selling point, because what can I give to people that, you know, sells the program apart from feedback from you, results, and kind of things. You know, that's why people were asking me keep posting these videos, but I can guys, I can post these little videos, but you will not learn, because this little video is just going to be a little piece of the puzzle and completely out of context. You can watch it, you can have it fun, you enjoy it, but it's not what's going to make you a successful and profitable trader. And not only that, but also somebody who really enjoys and has fun, you know, and because you need to change yourself to get to that point. And I can't change you. You know, the only thing I can do is be right next to you while you're changing, and because then you know which direction to change. And that is why this program is necessary.
That's absolutely right. Nobody's going to really learn anything from just watching these little tiny update videos. I mean, they're great to put out, but anybody here who's trying to just catch this wave from these little snippets, it's just not ever going to happen. It won't. I mean, it didn't really start clicking for me until my third week in, and that was just the first click. And I had significant ones after that, and I still have more yet to come. So if I look at the question from jurinization, I don't even know how to answer that for you. There isn't a way to answer that for you to give you a tip. I can tell you that when we shorted from 12K, we already had a big plan in mind for where we were going, and that's why we didn't get out early, like on a tenth of the way. But I can't tell you how that's going to work, you know, for next time. You have to learn what we do. There's no way around it.
Yeah. So Alterno says, like, if I am afraid to get profits taken away, so I get anxious and close with profit instead of letting it run. So what does that tell you, Alternos? Well, you know, I think what it should tell you is that you said anxious and afraid. So those are emotions, and you're getting these emotions because you're lost, because you have no idea what is happening, and you are expecting, a specific outcome. But there is a way to do it. There is a way to let go of these emotions and surrender to the outcome, and then maybe you will see what is happening right in front of you right now, because your trade is as good as the latest fractal. And if you listen to what this market is trying to tell you, you will never feel lost. Okay. And it's just an art. It's an art, just like, any martial arts, just like judo, any kind of sports. How can I give you a book and expect you to know how to fight? Right? You can read thousands of books, but are you going to learn how to fight? You're going to be a very lousy fighter because you don't feel it. You don't know where you are. You're going to be very afraid and anxious stepping on the mat with anybody who has been drilling for a year. Least talented person who's been drilling for a year is going to outcompete you 100-fold if you just were reading books before that. There has to be an experiential part that becomes part of you. Why? It's because you don't even think you do. That's when you are not worried about the outcome. You're playing the game then. You're playing it, you're being it. And you're not moving your body, you are being moved. That's a different wavelength to be. So same thing here. You are not moving the market, you are being moved. And just be moved and don't worry about it, because it doesn't matter which way it goes. If you follow it, you will always win. And that's why it's hard to explain. And these videos is just something that we tell you guys that what's it like to being behind that door. But you can never understand what's it like being behind that door until you are behind that door. That's one of those things. It's knowing and really experiencing it and understanding it deep down. And we're still sort of halfway in this program, and we are still distilling these new paradigms, habits, and keep doing and doing it. It becomes the second nature. Okay, when you there's the saying that I like in judo, is that you don't practice until you can get it right. You practice until you can't get it wrong. When you can't get it wrong anymore, that's when you learn. So, and that's why I said it right from the beginning, guys. Like, I'm mentoring people because I'm a brown belt. I'm not a black belt yet. Ugly is a black belt, but I'm aspiring to be a black belt, and hopefully within the next 6 months or a year, I will be a black belt at this. But because people are joining our white belts, I have a lot to teach as a brown belt. And that's why you have to train at the dojo to become a good fighter. Same thing, if you want to become a professional trader, you have to have your dojo. And YouTube is not your dojo, guys. YouTube is the same thing as reading a book. You're not doing it, you're not living it, you're not breathing it, so you won't be able to understand it. All right.
Yeah, so, that's all correct.
Yeah, learn by doing.
And you basically like you have a red pill, blue pill situation here too, where you're not gonna. I don't know which one took you to the matrix or took you out of it, but until you take it, you won't understand or know what's on the other side. There isn't another way around it, unfortunately. Yeah.
Well, Marcus, I mean, it was really fun having you here.
Yeah.
You are the reason why I'm doing this, because the satisfaction that I'm getting seeing you transforming and really alleviating the stress, finding joy in life, and all these kind of things. So that's the things that I'm doing it for. Those are the things that I'm going for.
Yeah.
And like Marcus said, I'm never going to let my first students off. They will always be able to follow me, and they will have everything that I have available to them. And that's part of the program, obviously. But it's more like more from me as that first group being very special to me, because anyway, that's a lot of fun.
Well, like I tell you all the time, I appreciate this opportunity so much. It's amazing that you even decided to share it, and it's incredible. And I see this as being something I get to keep on practicing and learning for life, and I'm looking forward to it. Yeah,
Absolutely. That's a lifetime wealth building skills, and not just wealth building skills in money wise, but inner wealth, you know, the the abundance and the wealth in your soul. Okay, guys, thank you for watching. Thanks for your questions. I hope you enjoyed it. If you are interested in joining this program, just hit me up on the Discord, or if you can find me on the Telegram, I will share the link below. It's going to be a Telegram link, Discord link. I don't have a website up yet, but it's being built. So just directly talk to me, and I'll see what I can do. Okay, guys. Thanks again, Marcus. And
you bet. Thank you.
I'll see you soon.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.